What's cracking, like it, everybody? Welcome to Between the Ribs, a special edition here on a Tuesday night at 7 o'clock. Thank you for joining us. I've been on Facebook now and X and Instagram and YouTube, and Heather has us on TikTok. By the way, welcome, Heather Hippopotamus.
Hello,
thank you. In the background there, making things happen, keeping me clapping. And if I get off track a little bit, I'm still on the meds and on the mends, but I got something I want to get off my chest. And it's my fault, really it is, because I have embraced the ideology of we have to learn to talk to each other. We have to learn to understand each other. And it's getting back crazy. Like, it's almost more than I can stand. Like, really, Heather.
Okay, what is going on?
All right, so I don't know how much you follow the threads when I put something on Facebook, but some of the threads will go like 20, 30, 40 deep with responses and people responding, and I respond and you respond, and then somebody else jumps in, and then somebody else jumps in with a quick history lesson, and then blah, 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 blah. It's getting crazy. And I'm doing my best to stay calm and cool and collective. It's like, hey, I open this up. I want us to all to understand each other, because the country can't heal from the top down. We can't be told to heal. We have to heal from the bottom up. We the people, that's why I wear the shirts. All right, we the people have to come together in our towns, communities, cities, states, counties. And we have to learn how to work and live with each other like we did in the old days. And then we would send people to Washington or to Tallahassee or to our capital, whatever state you're in, your capital. And then they would do their service, and then they would come back to our community, and they had to live with us. Right? So there was a little bit of accountability. And then 2-3 years later, 4 years later, depending on the cycle, we'd send somebody else, and then they'd had to come back to their community. We live in a time now where politicians don't live where they represent. They just have a house there, an address there, a water bill there. And they're all in Tallahassee together, or they're all in Atlanta together, or they're all in Washington together. And they don't have to come back and open up a butcher shop or open up a sawmill or open up, a farm stand in the town that they represented for 2 years or 4 years. And we've got this separation, right? That we don't, it's almost like the displacement of us and our food. It's like, it's one of the reasons we're having such a food crisis in America, and people are so obese and unhealthy, because they have this false impression like they don't want to eat cows because they don't understand where meat comes from. And they think about these cows and these feelings and this and that. And this whole push from the media. What?
You said cows' feelings.
Right.
So it was cute, because I get that.
Right. But yeah, they do technically have feelings because they have nerve endings, but they have one purpose in life. They wake up every morning and they think about two things. Male cows think about two things: ass or grass. That's all they think about. All right. Ass and grass. The female cow thinks about two things: getting it and grass. All right. All she wants to do is breed and eat grass. That's all they think about. All right. They don't think about the weather or what's going on tomorrow or who's in office or. All right.
It's very simple.
It's a very simple life. All right. That's the way God made them. Okay. That's why they don't speak, because they'd have nothing to talk about. What do you want to do now? Let's eat some grass. All right. What do you want to do now? Let's eat some grass. What do you want to do now? Well, last time you bred me, I didn't take. You want to breed me again? That's all they would talk about. There's nothing else. It's very simplicity. I mean, it's simplicity at the basic level. All right.
Okay.
So anyways, that's just a little sidebar. But so as I'm in these groups, I don't know what I guess they're called a chat group, a link group, a thread, whatever they're called. I have people just like flooding me with these reports from CNN and NBC and the Washington Post and some journal thing. And they're like, see, look, find me some proof. Look at this. And I'm like, yeah, but it's CNN. And they're like, oh, because you don't believe it because it's not from Fox. And I was like, I never said Fox. You said Fox.
Right.
So this last group I was in yesterday, we were talking. And the guy said to me now, and I know this guy personally. And I was actually talking to my children about Chris. And I was like, guys, you know Chris, our Starfruit guy? And they were like, yeah. I was like, could you imagine him as a keyboard warrior? And they're like, what, Mr. Chris? No, he's the nicest old man you ever met in your life. He walks humpback, all slow. He talks slow. Everything's cool, calm, collective, right? And then I was talking about another guy named Jamie that I was like, y'all know him? He comes to our store. I was like, would y'all ever think like he was a crazy guy? Not crazy guy, but like overly passionate on the internet, on behind the keyboard typing.
Fearless behind the keyboard.
And I was like, these guys, and I'm not picking on anybody. I'm just throwing a couple names out there. And Eric's one of them. There's different people. Like, you know who you are. And I'm not mad at you. I understand. I get very compassionate too. But I know these guys. And if they were face to face in a public environment, having this conversation, they would either not talk, they definitely would not come to blows. They would not do fisticuffs. They would not be in each other's face. They wouldn't be throwing out the M&F word or the FU word or calling each other idiots to their face at the top of their lungs in all caps. They wouldn't act like that in person.
Most people don't.
Right, because Mike Tyson, the best
Not
quote.
because of Mike Tyson. Okay, go ahead.
The best quote in humanity is, "Everybody has a plan until they get punched in the mouth."
Oh.
All right, and that is the problem with social media. People don't get punched in the mouth no more. And I don't condone violence anymore. I used to. I don't condone violence anymore. But there's no accountability for what we say to each other.
Yeah.
Right? And for the most of us, all we're doing is repeating what the media tells us to repeat. And where do you think the media gets their information from? So I thought last night, I thought to myself, what are we going to do? We're either going to be part of the problem, part of the solution. So I went back to 2001, before I ever knew anything about talk radio or YouTubes or social media. I didn't even have a phone back then. I had a Nextel Boost. a Nextel Chirp Chirp, on the AgNet that you
walkie-talkie one.
press the button. Yes, that's what I had, okay? I didn't have a computer. I still don't have a computer.
I have your computer.
Heather, yeah, I finally bought my first laptop, and Heather has it.
But it's working.
Yes. So I used to read the farm report and the ag reports and the weather reports and economical progress reports and different things that affected soybean prices, corn prices, fuel prices, commodity prices. Those are the things I used to read and watch. And you could find them on the channels back then. Sometimes there was an Ag Network channel and different channels. They kept you up to date with the commodity production and movement in America. And then it would show imports, exports, and you would just watch the flow of things. You didn't need CNN or Fox or ABC to tell you if the economy was good or bad. You could tell, wow, corn's up 20%, corn's down 20%, fuel's up, fuel's down.
I think for the average person, hearing a bunch of numbers and seeing the numbers scroll by, it's just quicker for somebody to tell them, oh, this is up, this is down, and this is good or bad. I think a lot of us fall into the habit of, if we can get the information quick, we take it.
Okay, spoon fed, be spoon fed.
Yeah.
So like a baby on breast milk. I'm hungry, mama's got to feed, mama feeds me.
Right.
All right, I don't question mama, I trust mama's milk. Right?
Yeah.
But at some point you got to get off the milk and you got to chew meat and potatoes. Right? And mama can't give you meat and potatoes out her lovely mama breast that God gave her. So at some point, let's just say at some point get off the milk.
Okay.
Here's where I'm going with it though. I'm not sure because I wasn't involved in all this in 2001. I drove a tractor and I farmed and I worked and I did hurricane cleanup and we did construction on the farm. We dug ditches and put culverts in and set pumps and, we just farmed. We did everything farm. It used to be JDM.
You worked with your hands. You weren't looking at numbers.
No, the only time you looked at TV or numbers was in the morning when you were drinking coffee, eating your grits and eggs, and at night before you went to bed. The rest of the day, you went out and you talked to people, met with people. You got on your tractor, you worked your animals, you did your thing, you went to the feed store, you went to the parts store, and you got your census of the environment from everybody in your environment. And between hearing everybody talking, complaining, don't get me wrong, back then there were still Democrats and Republicans that argued, over Clinton and Bush and this guy and that guy and blah, blah. And it's always been there. But I'm trying to think if media was as bad back then.
I don't think we had as much access to it because we couldn't just pull up a story, repost it, and comment our own thoughts and get all of our friends who probably have no business even talking about some of these things right. to comment.
But could you trust CNN and ABC and all them CBS back in 2001, 1999, 2000, that kind of timeline?
You had to. I think we felt like we had to. It was that or the newspaper, which was a day old by the time you got it.
Yeah, I think the first, I can't remember what year it was when that first guy got in trouble for lying. Was it Dan Rathers, some guy that was, they caught him lying like he had never been in the war zone and there wasn't bullets flying at him and he had been lying about all the stories he was telling. I don't know what year that was. I just remember that story sticking out. Was that the downfall?
No.
Of news media? My grandpa, before he died, thought when Walter Cronkite stopped, that's when news stopped. He said after Walter Cronkite, everything. I didn't even know Walter Cronkite died. That's how.
He might still be alive.
I don't think so, but I don't know. But I remember my grandpa used to saying this before he died, that news as we know it is over. Because now all it is people telling you what their bosses told you. That it comes out on the printer, here, read this.
Yeah, the downfall was definitely when we were all able to put our opinions in and we got confused about what was opinion and what was fact.
Okay. And being in news, because you got family in news, it's about ratings. They got to make money, right? Now, I understand.
That's not hard to do.
But here's the thing. What if they started looking at the ratings and the numbers? And I'm going somewhere with this, guys, so please stick with me. What if they started looking at the numbers and the ratings and said, man, people aren't going for breaking news tonight, 2 dead at the local McDonald's?
No, that is what they are going for. What they're not going for is woman adopts puppy who gives her a liver or something. You know,
okay, I'll give you a perfect example. 3 white men in Savannah, Georgia got released 2 years ago.
Released
from prison.
Okay.
They were in prison for 27 years. All right. They just got home from the war or some overseas tour. They were all army guys. They had just got back to Savannah. They were going somewhere just looking for a nightclub, a pool hall. It was kind of late at night. They were all 3 together in the same car. What they didn't know is 3 blocks up at a nightclub, there was a shooting. The only person on the scene was a black man. The cops had him in the back of the car. And the guy in the back of the car was saying, I didn't shoot him. I don't have a gun. I saw it, though. I know who shot him. It was a white dude. So wrong place, wrong time. These 3 guys pull up to a police officer at a gas station corner and said, hey, excuse me, sir, we just got home from the Army. They were all dressed nice in the same car. We're looking for this place, this address. The guy in the back seat tells the cop in the car, that's the guy that shot him. So the cops call up, back up, they arrest him. They had one eyewitness. Halfway through the trial, the eyewitness admitted he lied. There was no DNA evidence. There was no gun. Nobody could place these 3 guys at the scene. But this was back at the time when it was very racial in that part of Georgia. And they were trying,
Southwest Georgia?
They were trying to prove a point that we prosecute white people just as much as we prosecute black people. So they steamrolled this case through, and you can look it up. I don't have the exact case number. You can look it up. They steamrolled this case through. They all got convicted guilty. All 3 of them got life for murder. And wow, this is fast.
I know.
And well, we'll just, guys, stick around. We're going to keep rolling this. They all got convicted for murder, 27 years in prison. And they just got exonerated and got released. Crickets. It's not on the news anywhere.
How long were they locked up?
27 years. They just got out a couple years ago. Nobody wants to hear about that. Now, if a black guy shot a white guy and it was innocent, that's what, because they want us to hate each other. They know that nobody's going to have an outcry because 3 white guys got unjustifiably locked up. So my question is,
I feel like if that had happened here, it would have been covered. And I'm sure it was covered there. So don't look at it as a local thing, because I don't think it's a local problem. I think it's a national problem, and everyone pulling the same stories off the wire, the AP wire, which is sent to everyone.
Right. But I guess what I'm getting at is, when did we get to the news cycle when opinions mattered more than facts? And what I'm getting at, and we're gonna take a quick break.
When we all could join in.
That's what I'm saying. So the news media realized, the news outlets realized, hey, we print a story just, hey, this happened. Well, people aren't staying on. They're not clicking on. They're not following. They're not reading it twice. Oh, what if we put in because we think it was tied to this? Whatever. White power, black power, racism, the Republicans, Democrats, climate change. We'll throw in, why do you think it happened? And then they start adding that in, and then people read that, and they're like, well, CNN said that it happened because of climate change, because we had a hot summer. Oh my gosh, climate change real. Or a black guy, what? So black guys hate white guys. Or white guy, what? We are racist as a country. And now they see that it feeds the fire. Mm-hmm. More people are clicking, more people are watching, more people are grabbing the newspaper, more people are staying on the news channel. It's like what they do with hurricanes. Just report, hey, we got a storm coming. And I understand, let's not open that bag. I understand you have to warn people. I get it.
Well, we all got our asses handed to us in 2004. Right.
Charlie. But it was a mistake. It wasn't a mistake.
It wasn't a mistake. We just didn't have the ability to predict it as well as we do. It's a lot better now.
This last storm, Milton, 12 hours before it turned, by the way, Jonathan Morse called it. Everybody remembers I was on the Shannon Burke show, and I did it on my show. I did a video in the hospital, remember?
Yeah.
I predicted this because I know how to read weather patterns. All right. It was the eye was coming right over Lake Mary Sanford. It was right over.
Yeah,
we were going to take a direct impact of a Cat 5 hurricane.
It wouldn't have been a 5 by the time it got to us, but yeah, it
Yes.
was still going to be something.
And how quickly the storm and dry air came down and moved. It's called weather patterns, right? They're very easy to read if you want to just read them. But I understand if they would have said that and then that dry air didn't come in fast enough and we got hit with a Cat 4, Cat 5, Cat 3, they would have been liable to some extent, or because I don't know.
Well, our trust. They depend on our trust, and our trust for them.
But I think
would
they're
have
starting to lose our
shifted.
trust because they're going too far with trying to keep us on deck. They're trying to keep us on so bad that now we're starting to say, turn the channel. I don't want to watch it no more.
I don't think local is. I really don't.
I'm not saying,
these are two different things.
I'm not saying local is. I'm talking about maybe like the Weather Channel. All right. But I here at our house, at some point, I finally told the kids, guys, turn the TV off. Pull out the card deck. Pull out the dominoes. Let's go outside and play. Just stop. Right. We're not going to keep watching this and waiting for the last minute. Like there's nothing else to watch. So what if at the last minute that storm did turn back and intensify, and so many people were sick of the same crap, they're not watching anymore? I mean, don't get me wrong, there's a fine line. I understand media, news, it's a business just like everything else. And we got way off track. It's not what I'm trying to get at,
Yeah.
but here's where I'm going with it. Do I have time to wrap this up?
Yeah, go ahead.
I went back to reading farmers' reports, progressive reports. You may have to cut that part out. Farmers' reports, progressive reports, economical reports that don't come from CNN or ABC or Fox or anybody else, right? These are actual independent third-party people that write articles on their industries. And wow, the numbers are so different than what they tell us on mainstream media. So I said all that to say, all around the mulberry bush, Jonathan chases the story. Whoops, the story came out. Pop goes the weasel. Is that how that song goes?
Not really, but
All
it's
right.
close.
So I said all that to say, I've had, and I won't keep naming names of people because I love all y'all and I respect all y'all and I want to have open conversations. So I'm not necessarily picking on you, but stop sending me CNN said, NBC said,
MSNBC.
MSNBC.
Okay, thank you.
Oh.
I'm not the only one, but it's okay. Continue. You're welcome, everyone. Go ahead.
Oh, people are mad at you for
No,
doing
no,
that?
no.
All right.
We just all it ticks our head. Okay, we're good.
All right.
Go.
So you know the station I'm talking about. That's how the station I will no longer name. That's how I refer to them. Stop sending me stuff from all these places unless you can back it up with independent journalism. All right. The Progressive Farmer, DTM. This is a farm ag report. All right. It covers farm payouts, cash receipts, inventories, stocks, sales, and it also covers government subsidies. And part of how they get their checks and balance from this independent Progressive Farmer magazine, if you will, or editorial, all right, is they look at the numbers from the farms as a whole, as an industry, and then they look at the payout numbers from the USDA on the ARC and the PLC payments. We'll get to that. That's ag credit, that's ag resets, that's supplemental, different things the government does for farmers, crop insurance, different things. And then they compare the two numbers, and then they compare the commodity price, and they give you a realistic number of what's going on in American agriculture. There's a lot of numbers, a lot of facts, a lot of yields. I'm not going to bore you with all that. But if you want to go, Chris Clayton, right? Chris Clayton is the guy who writes it. He's the editor for the Ag Policy Department. All right? You can connect with him on Twitter, X, whatever. So he just put out this report. Now, the thing about these reports, and this is something CNN and the other guys don't tell you, these reports come out late because they have to accumulate the entire year, and then they have to accumulate the first quarter of the next year, the way farming reports work. So when people say, oh, that's old, that's from 2023. Well, yes, and we won't get the 2024 report until the second quarter of 2025. That's how it works.
I mean,
right?
that makes sense. Yeah, because you want to have all the numbers and all the correct numbers.
Right.
Yeah,
and you have
of course.
to, yes. And you also have to have projections for the next year. So how can you get projections for the next year if you don't get a taste of the next year being the first quarter? So
Right.
this is how real journalism works. Okay. It's an accumulation of numbers. It's like adding mathematics to addition. Cash receipts, and I'm only going to give you the highlight parts. Cash receipt for crop producers have dropped $33.75 billion with a B billion in the last 2 years, according to USDA farm income reports. Now, Chris sent me a report from CNN. It showed that farmers make $12 billion more. Well, let me rephrase that. $3 billion more. Under Biden, farmers were making $12 billion and some change, $1,292 billion or whatever. And under Trump, we were only making $975 billion. All right?
I know where this is going.
So they send me these numbers. Really? Then finish the story.
No. You continue. I've gotten to know you, and I've listened to your stories, and I know where you're headed. Keep going.
All right. So they send you this report, and it's a fake report. It's not a full report. So my dad and my grandpa always taught me, a half lie is a whole truth. A half lie is a whole truth.
Okay.
And you only lie for two reasons. Save your family and to save your family. You don't even lie to save yourself. Man only has to lie for two reasons. Save his family and save his family. The rest of it, you be honest or don't talk. Close your mouth. All right? So by reporting half the numbers and only part of the numbers, that's a lie. That's a false story. That's misinformation.
It's a lie of omission.
A lie of omission. So the Democrats and the liberals are correct. Misinformation is our existential threat to democracy. How do you say that word? Existential?
Oh, you've messed me up.
I kill. Yeah, I'm sorry. I get in people's psyche.
Yeah,
and I
you
mess
do.
up your English language because of
You
my English language.
Do.
Sorry, I'm a little bit contrary.
Yes.
But anyways, the biggest threat to democracy is blindness. All right, that's all it is. It's blindness. It's the lack of vision. The Bible says, without vision, my people will perish. So when you have somebody showing you a half of glass, telling you it's a full glass, and you believe it and you buy into it, you're blind. You're a dummy. You're believing what they tell you instead of looking at the whole glass and realizing, well, wait a minute. They showed me a picture of a glass and the water line right here, and they're telling me it's full. But if I expand out on the picture, I can see that the glass is a 20-ounce glass and there's only 10 ounces of water in it.
That's the dog.
Is that us?
No, that was the dog.
Oh, all right. Sorry. Home studio producing. Sometimes we think people knock on the door and it's just a dog's tail on the wall.
Yeah.
He's got a crazy powerful tail.
It's right here.
Oh, he's under the table now?
Yes.
Dumb dog. He
No,
almost got
he
killed.
loves
No, he
me.
almost got killed this morning. He was gonna bite you. He didn't. That's why I threw the bottle at him. He's getting old and he's getting ornery.
Your dad will shoot you.
Yeah, it's 22 cents. Well, not with inflation. It's probably 38 cents for a bullet nowadays.
He may
But-
not even waste a bullet on you, Brody. Come on, buddy.
Should we be saying this on live air? Repeat it out there?
No, because you're not going to do anything like that.
Yeah, I'm not. I never harm a dog. He
This
keeps
is
the bad.
Annabelle's dog.
It is. He keeps the bad guys away, so I never harm. So, all right, let's get back to the story. I got a lot of meat and potatoes here. All right, corn and soy and all kind of other stuff. So they put out the number of how great farmers are doing under Biden, leading you to believe and trying to get you to believe that Biden's doing so much more for the country and so much more for farmers than Trump ever did. It's because they want you to hate Trump at all levels, all aspects. So they put out misinformation, claiming that we put out misinformation. So I will never, ever again answer anybody with a Fox story or a Newsmax story or anything else story.
MSNBC.
Well,
I saw you starting to say that.
Yes.
No, I got it.
I will never use one of those news outlets unless I can back it up with a third-party independent article to match it. All right, I will get my information from the horse's mouth, so to speak, and I encourage you to do the same thing. So we're down $33.75 billion in the last 2 years. Biden has been in office for 3.5 years now, almost 3 3/4 years. So there's no way they can blame Trump for this, even though they are. All right, the 2023 crop report for payments. Get this, you ready? So ARC, that's Agricultural Risk Coverage, ARC. You don't need to know it. I only need to know it. Risk coverage is, in order to keep the country flowing, in order to keep the country fed, the federal government came up with this plan, and it's a great plan. Let me back up to 50 years ago, all right? 50 years ago, farmers had to hedge their bets just like any other good gambler. If you don't understand farming is worse than Las Vegas. Farming is an addiction, it's a disease, and it will break your family. When I got into farming on my own, Roger Hatton, rest his soul, he's in heaven now. He got me in his Yukon, his Suburban or whatever it was, And he rode me around to all the farms that he owned and he operated. He was a very big farmer. And he's like, Jonathan, let me warn you right now. Don't put $1 in the ground that you need. Because I was just getting started on my own. I had worked for other farms. I was farm managers and I had done different things. He's like, don't put $1 in the ground that your wife needs or that you need. And he's like, putting money in the ground is like going out to Las Vegas and putting it on a craps table. You're not guaranteed to get $1 of it back. All right? So this goes all the way back to the beginning. Before farmers really understood the pattern, sometimes they may plant 3 days too early and they grow a whole crop and get up to like the 92nd day when they're getting ready to start picking corn, and then they get an early freeze and they lose their entire crop, 80 acres of corn. That's hundreds of thousands of dollars they lose, right? So they just quit planting. They're like, we can't take the gamble. And they come up with these plant dates, and like for us in Florida, down here where we live, it's September 15th and February 15th. I don't plant before February 15th, and I don't plant after September 15th on certain crops, depending on cold weather, hot weather, right? Those are my 2 dates. I don't have enough land and enough acres to get any supplements from the government, and I'm cool with that. I ain't worried about it. But when I used to farm a section, 635 acres, if I wanted to plant inside of a freeze zone, I could go down to the Farm Bureau and apply for an ARC and say, hey, I'm going to gamble on planting during a freeze zone. Here's why the government does that. When all the farmers quit planting, when it got way too hot or way too cold, there wasn't no vegetables in the store, okay? And this is way back before Clinton, North American Free Trade Act, when we were bringing in produce from all over the world, and we mainly relied on American farmers, all right? So they started telling farmers, hey, if you're willing to roll the dice to keep our grocery stores full of food, if you lose, we'll offset your losses, and we'll pay you a little extra to keep you going. Just please don't stop farming. All right?
Sounds good.
Those are facts. Now, under the Biden administration, right after COVID, they were paying farmers $33,000 an acre to disc out their land. Where have we come from a country to where they were paying us to grow during high risk seasons, and now they're paying us to destroy crops? So there's less crops from America, so it makes them have to prove to the American people, well, we don't have enough crops in America. We have to import crops.
But the farmers have told us that they were paid to disc up.
Yes, we know that.
Yeah.
And shame on the farmers. Now, don't get me wrong. If you got 1,000 acres and they're paying you $33,000 an acre to disc it up, that's $333,000. I wouldn't put seed in the ground either. Maybe. You're going to give me this check for $333,000 and I don't have to do nothing, right? We're never going to get to these stories. The other thing I wanted to show you real quick, I don't know if this is that important, but $15.9 billion is the additional forecasted downfall going for 2024. And of course, we're 3/4 of the way through 2024. So we'll have those numbers at the end of the year for next year. But we're already down 33 billion. And they're saying it'll fall another 15.9 billion. That makes it 48, almost 49 billion that we were down since Biden took office. The other thing about the report, CNN only shows you the gross number. They don't show you the net profit.
Right. That's kind of important.
Very important.
Especially since all of your prices have gone up.
Yes. We sell stuff higher than we've ever sold it, and we make less profit than we've ever made. So who cares that farmers are bringing in $12 billion, 12.95, whatever billion dollars, when it's costing them $11.5 billion to make it?
Right.
There ain't no profits because fuel's up and feed's up and fertilizer's up and transportation's up and labor's up and taxes, everything across the board.
Everything.
Where I'm going with this is, at least I'm gonna let the cat out of the bag. This is where I'm going with it. This is why you don't turn the dial for a minute. At least I got to vote for my candidate.